guys out there doing in listening land? This is Kevo, and this is another episode of The Great Northern Way. We so appreciate you guys being a part of our show, our podcast each week. We thank you for all of the feedback. We want to remind you to follow us on Instagram. It's at The Great Northern Way, POD. And that's on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Facebook.com/KEVOCABELL. And we really appreciate your feedback. We had the dating episode. We had the Shy Guys Objection. We really appreciate you guys tuning in and giving us your feedback week after week. Also, we want to let you know, if you do feel so inclined, you can donate. We are listener supported. You can go to paypal.me/Kevo, Kevo, Cabell. And as you like, you can do it if you are in Canada or if you are in the U.S. Oh, and then a very special announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, as if you could not tell, we do have merchandise ready. It is at the Great Northern Way Shop on Facebook. So go ahead and grab you something for back to school or whatever fits your need. We're so thankful for you guys. And without further ado, we are going to introduce our guests. Our guest here today is the lovely Anna Yoon. How are you today, Anna?
I am good. It's a beautiful Vancouver day with a sun so bright. Perfect location. And
Yeah, just as you said that, I looked around and I'm seeing the North Shore over here, downtown to the left, to the right. We have beautiful Commercial Drive. We just had the, Taste of Italy or Italy Day? Was it Sunday?
Probably Taste of Italy on Commercial Drive?
Yes, Commercial Drive. Yeah, and so it was just a beautiful, beautiful array of things. Did you get a chance to check out any of the Italian eateries or?
No, not this past weekend, but I do love Italian food, and I have actually a couple of friends who are really good Italian cooks.
Great. And so we just appreciate you being here, and as the Italians say, bella, bella, bella.
Pretty good.
Yes, so what we are talking about today is the psychology behind dating. Basically the decisions that we make within dating, and we brought Anna on because basically she has a great background. We're going to get into it, matter of fact, but the first thing that we do is a weekly thing that, and every one of our listeners appreciates this. It is called Canada. Have you heard of Canada before?
No, I have not.
Well, thank you, Anna. We try to, we basically, okay, Canada is, you should know these basics about Canada or the people who are inhabited of thereof. And so our game of Canada is you should know these basics, or you're not very Canadian, or maybe you are, but these are just some fun facts, and we just like to get into it. So without further ado, drum roll, please. Okay, Anna. According to the Vancouver Sun, there was an article recently put out about the top 10 reasons that you should date a Canadian.
Ooh, how interesting.
I mean, besides the fact that you get to go on beautiful hikes, I think there's a lot of reasons.
That's
right?
a Vancouver thing.
That's true, because there's a distinction between Vancouver and the rest of Canada.
So we're talking about the Canada or Vancouver specifically?
Well, we're just talking about Canada, but there are beautiful mountains throughout. However, I do understand that I was told in Toronto, it's more flat, right? So you don't have as many hillish, or many peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah. Lots of lakes.
Lots of lakes. So, for this episode of Canada, Anna, I need you to give me the top 3 reasons. There were 10, but I'll be nice. Can you give me 3 reasons why someone should date a Canadian?
Okay, I think I'm gonna nail the first one. And that is because we Canadians are very polite. We are one of the most polite nations out there in the world.
Yes, that actually was on there. Good job. Way to go, Anna. Good job. All right. So 2 more.
All right, let's see. I think Canada is very culturally diverse. So if you are open minded about things, you're just going to learn so much from anybody you date who lives in Canada, just because of their potential background, because of the people that they hang out with, etc. There's just so much to learn about each other through the cultural diversity.
Actually, yes. It's
Wow.
on the list. Yes, the cultural diversity is actually on that list.
Really?
So, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Anna, out of 10, is 2 for 2. But we're only
Okay.
doing 3. So, without the further ado, drum roll for the last one. What is your last of 3 reasons that someone should date a Canadian?
All right. I would say if I had to only pick one, we are very active and health conscious.
No.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. But you did great. You did
That
really.
cannot be true.
It wasn't on the list. So you got one of those was that you're culturally diverse, so you got that one.
Yeah.
The other one was that you'd have a great selection of sweaters.
Sweaters. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. You'd go to Roots for that.
Right. You have a good there. Another one was that you said about. I think you said about was it hikes? You said what was the first one you gave me?
The first one was that we're polite.
Ah, yes, it was about the politeness. It was also laid back, so that's 3. The diction, I guess they were just referring to the A, how Canadians say it.
Yep.
So the diction, they were saying your relationship, Canadians are relationship oriented. Maple syrup was, I don't know why, just maple syrup.
Right.
And sense of humor. So that was like around 8, and I think, number 9 was poutine. I don't know why, just poutine.
Have you tried poutine?
Yeah, but it's only good, I suppose, on the East Coast.
I mean, it's prevalently on the East Coast, but there are a couple of places that have good poutine here as well.
Okay. So, thank you for playing. Thank you for being a good sport. We really appreciate that. And without further ado, so we want to talk about today the psychology of dating, or the reason why people make certain choices. And like we know in life that it's just, there's lots of things. There's people's past that come into play. There are, suppose selfish reasons that come into play. There are so many different things behind the psychology of dating, but psychology of why people make certain decisions. And we also obviously want to talk about, dating, the psychology of dating post-married, post in your 30s, 40s, and around that age. So basically, may I ask, Anna, where are you from?
So I originally come from the country called Kazakhstan. It's the country in Central Asia that borders with China on the east and Russia to the north, as well as Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. So most of them were actually former Soviet Union republics, except for China. So yeah, that's my background. I came to Vancouver in 2006, so this is home now.
Wow. Well, welcome home.
Thanks.
What kind of work, or what kind of field do you work in currently?
Right. So for the majority of my professional experience, I have been doing marketing. So I started off marketing consumer packaged goods, so mostly food brands or beverage brands like Coca-Cola, Pepsi. There's another brand called SC Johnson that sells, cleaning supplies and things like that. And about 5 years ago, I switched to a different industry, which is called biotechnology or life sciences, but I still do marketing. I just market to different people.
Wow. I mean, that's a huge jump from like Coca-Cola to like biotechnologies, right? So, you're like going from like, why do people drink soft drinks, or, why would people want to try Coke Vanilla? and then you got you said we'll say it again,
Biotechnology.
biotechnology, which I'm guessing like is something involved with like solar paneling.
No, biotechnology is biological products, so anything related to science.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be physical products or it could be technology that is aimed at improving health outcomes in one form or another.
Nice. Okay. And so you did mention that you've been here for 16 or 13?
16 years.
16 years. So that was actually one of our questions. You got ahead of us. You are on the money today. And so just so we know just because of our topic today,
Yep.
what was when you moved here originally, what was your relationship status when you originally moved to Canada?
Yeah, so I was married, so I moved here with my husband.
Okay. Okay. And although I'm taking you had discussed the move, because going through the different paperwork, and although you had discussed the move with your husband at the time, before you actually made the move, do you feel like moving obviously from another country on the other side, the eastern part of Europe to the west or Canada, put an extra stress on the relationship?
Well, definitely. I, of course, didn't really know before the move, but once we got here and we started settling, there were a lot of pressures that were not necessarily related to the marriage itself, but were related to life. Obviously, you have to start from the beginning to establish yourselves. We were both young professionals, so we're quite ambitious, and careers were very important to us. And on top of all that, we also became new parents, and so we had to figure out the way to raise and parent a child outside of our comfort zones, outside of our home country, outside of all the traditions and that everything that we were used to before, without support system. So all of that combined, of course, was a big challenge for the marriage as well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and I definitely understand that because you think about it, like, yeah, when people need babysitters, they turn to extended family. Did you have, I know that his family was in Europe. Did you have any family here or know any extended family members here before you made your move?
So my parents and my younger sister actually live in Seattle, just across the border. So that was huge support. It was close enough, so when we landed here, they actually had a place rented for us and furnished, and they came here as often as they could. But obviously, everybody has their own life, and there's only so many times that they can visit per year, just given their vacation days and day offs, etc. So I would say for the most part, it was just the three of us: my husband, myself, and our daughter. So we had to figure it all out.
Yeah, and that can be tough when you're having to figure it out, when you're trying to just figure things out, as an adult being on a different land, and being here. So you said you worked in marketing, and you worked with Coca-Cola, SC Johnson, a family company. I love when they do that commercial. A family company. You're
Right.
like, oh, it's a family company. I don't know what that means. I just want some air spray to make. I just want to make my house smell better. My family is the reason I need this airspray because
Right.
they have some dirty socks. But no, but you mentioned working for them, and I'm just curious because marketing involves like the study of people's behaviors and choices.
Right.
You do study groups, focus groups. You bring people in.
Yep.
You ask them why they do certain things. So is there anything that maybe as a study group or focus group that you learned about? In the general sense,
Right.
about the reasons why people make particular choices.
Right. So I think the simplest explanation for why people do what they do goes back to a very basic model that we learn in marketing based on behavioral science, and that's the Maslow hierarchy of needs and
Yes.
motivations.
Yes.
So I think a lot of what we do in marketing is actually based on that. So it starts with physical needs, right? Needs for food and water and sleep, and then goes up, and then you need safety, right? You want to feel safe, you want to have shelter, you want to feel safe when you go outside. And only when those needs are met, which we are very fortunate here in Canada or North America or in the developed world, to not even think or question. Most of us do not have to think of those things. Those bases are covered, right? So we sometimes go right to the third level, which is the need for love and belonging. And the two higher forms of our needs are self-actualization, and that's where you want to have your own identity, sense of achievements, etc. And the very last one is self-actualization, where you relate who you are as a person in relation to the rest of the society. So a lot of it, if you think about it in marketing, are actually based on those five needs, right? And depending on what you're selling, you can sort of play to one or another.
I like that. I like that. And thank you for that. So you brought up self-actualization,
Right.
and as part of the five Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Right.
I suppose self-realization and things of that
Right.
nature. So I do have to ask, do you feel coming from Kazakhstan and whatever the attitudes were towards however the society was,
Right.
do you feel that moving to the West kind of made you feel more empowered as a woman or liberated as a woman? Do you feel like that gave you any more freedom, or maybe you just felt like it was just, I don't know. Maybe it could have been status quo, but did you feel anything different moving to the West?
I definitely think there are major differences between the Eastern set of values and Western set of values, which is why I was always curious about living in Canada or in North America or in the West in general. I think people in the East in general tend to be very family oriented, very traditional in a sense. And so to that extent, I did feel the shift. But then again, I was brought up in a very liberal environment. Both of my parents are very democratic in their approach. They're well cultured, educated. So I was already exposed to all of that, and so it wasn't as much of a cultural shift or shock for me because I already grew up with those values. And then the second thing of it is I think the freedom comes from within, right? Some of it is shaped by society and environment, but the big part of it is also how you feel about yourself and how you relate to people around you.
I love that. I love that your parents provided something for you, even if, however the attitudes were, your parents provided you that blueprint, and that's what you went off of.
Right.
I love that you were independent in the midst of whatever it is that this society of views may have been.
Right.
So I guess I must bring that up. So what were in Kazakhstan growing up, or maybe even current day,
Right.
what do you feel are the attitudes towards dating, marriage, life, or success as it pertains to having a family? You may have hit on a little bit of it, but just to drive it home and make it clear, what do you feel are the attitudes or views in Kazakhstan?
Right. Well, I would like to first make a disclaimer that, I am not representative of the whole country. I can only speak from my experiences. I'm also a really weird mix, right? There's Eastern European culture in me because Kazakhstan used to be part of Soviet Union, which was a prevalent culture actually over there. And then ethnically, I'm also Korean, so I guess I'm Southeast Asian in that way, and I was born and lived in Kazakhstan. So I can only speak from my own experiences, but I would say that societal expectations from women, the gender equality in a broad sense were a little different. The priorities for women to self-actualize were a little different as well. So there were pressures, and there are pressures on young women in terms of the age they get married at, and raising a family and all that. So it's more of an exception when somebody says, "Oh, I'm okay on my own. I don't want a family. I don't want kids. My focus is career at this point." So people do look funny at you. But again, there are exceptions to both. There are also more traditional people living here in the West than back east, so it's all relative, right?
Shout out to Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. I mean, everybody. There are traditional people here in Vancouver proper, but I think she was referring to basically Manitoba, Saskatchewan. No, she was referring to just people in general, and I don't want to speak for Anna, but no, thank you for that. And I think it is different when you're saying that, hey, there could be people who are old school, traditional, even here, or
Right.
in whatever we consider here to be. Vancouver may be a slightly progressive or very progressive,
Yeah.
but that's only found in the areas of the people you hang out with, because you could be in North Vancouver and it could be very much, I don't know, in the same way as it was if it was that way back home. But it just, it truly depends, and it's all based on the mentality and the mindset. So thank you for that. So and I guess I need to ask as well, how did you and your ex husband meet, or the husband that when you came here, how did you guys meet in Kazakhstan?
So we actually met at work. We used to work together, and so because it was kind of professional environment, I wasn't really comfortable with people knowing, because I felt like personal life should be kept personal life, and so we were undercover for as long as we're dating, actually, and then we got married, and there was no hiding it, because we would leave and come to work at the same time. But yeah, it was a funny story.
Secret lovers. I love it. I love it. I love that you guys took that chance.
Right.
And we talk about like the dating world today, and then like the way the people are today. I'm very curious as to how you feel about, speaking of like dating apps, and the you guys taking it that way through work, because that is, some people will do that, but that's a very like old school way. Like most people are, like you said, they're career oriented, and for good reason. It's not a bad thing, but I love that you guys took that chance. But now that we are in this technology infused world, I have to ask you a question to kind of like contrast that.
Sure.
Do you feel that because of technology influenced world we live in today, that maybe that we live in such a world where maybe because we talked about dating in our 30s or 40s, that the 40 is the new 30 in the dating age because of technology, or 30 is the new 20 because there are so many advances? I suppose we could still be our own ways and our own selves, but I suppose what I'm speaking to is more the things that we're available to us. Like maybe it could have been that, and that wasn't that long ago. Well, how long did you guys meet?
How long ago did we meet?
Yeah.
I don't know, like close to 20 years ago now.
I mean, that's not that long ago. It's long enough, but it's not that long ago. But things change rapidly. But maybe you may have felt less options, or maybe a woman at that time does feel less options. Today, women may not. They may feel more empowered, men as well, women or men. So do you feel that because of technology and where we are, that maybe 40 is the new 30 and 30 is the new 20 when it comes to dating, post marriage or post a long relationship?
I mean, I do believe age is just a number. I think it all goes to how you feel about yourself, what you're looking for when you approach dating. Also, your lived experiences, right? Somebody may be reaching their 40s and they haven't really lived their life yet. Maybe they were focusing on other areas, etc. So for them, maybe 40s is the new 20s. For myself, speaking from my own experience, because I married quite early. We were married when I was 23 and he was 25, and we were married for 17 years. I would say stepping into the exciting world of dating was liberating, but it was also scary, it was uncertain, it was flaky, all of it. So I would say, as much as it enables you to maybe meet people you wouldn't have otherwise, it also presents you with so many options. And so I think people get jaded by it. People look at their prospective dates as just numbers, and I think I wouldn't say it's wrong, but I think it's definitely a flaw of dating online, is that you get tired of looking at all the faces flipping by, right? And you stop seeing the person behind the picture.
That's deep.
Yeah, but at the same time gives you access to so many people, especially with our busy lives, right? You don't need to go into office to meet your next date.
And you did bring up, when we spoken before, about middle-age dating. Now, I don't feel like in any way 40 is middle-age, but some people may. So I just have to pose the question to
Right.
you because you just got through saying, yeah, you know, it's age is in some way a social construct or
Right.
something we come up with. So, do you feel that what age range? What I guess it's a weird question to pose, but I guess what do you feel constitutes middle age dating? I think you brought that term up earlier when we talked.
Middle age dating. Again, it's just dependent on the personal experiences that you go through.
Okay.
But I would say, anywhere from maybe 35 to 50-ish is considered middle age dating. But I think a lot of it is your emotional maturity and your life experiences that go into it. So you may be a very mature 30-year-old who is actually ready for commitment and ready to approach it in a very serious way, or you could be 45 and still a player, so
Wow. Shout out. Well, now no shout out, but yeah, no, you bring up a very interesting concept. And actually, when I was in Los Angeles, I did see quite a few guys who were similar to that.
okay.
So I definitely understand exactly what you mean. And in regards to your marriage, and this, I think this may just feel like your own evolution as a woman and what you said, actualization.
Yeah.
When you spoke about my Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
But how did you feel when you broached the subject of your separation, divorce? Like, did you feel in some way, and I don't know, it could be either the man or the woman.
Right.
But do you feel like you had done something wrong? Did you feel convicted? Like, I guess, how was your feeling surrounding your divorce or separation?
I absolutely did not feel that I was doing anything wrong. I was also not feeling that my ex-husband was doing anything wrong. I just thought that marriage and love, I think, are hard work, and I firmly believe that love is a verb. It's not a noun. It's not a constant, and it's like anything that matters. It requires effort. It requires consistency, play, spontaneity, creativity, all of that. And it was, as we had covered earlier, we were just busy with our immigrant lives and so we let go of all of that, and then
Ooh.
eventually we kind of came to the point where it wasn't really reversible. At least for me, it wasn't reversible. We did try working through it, but it didn't work. And so I think my one takeaway is, if you're unhappy, you can and you should change that. So I think, yeah, and there may not necessarily be any big dramatic reasons for it. There doesn't need to be betrayal or anything like that. It could be as simple as, you are pursuing different paths, or you outgrew each other, or you simply lost interest. And if it's irreversible, then there's no reason to make each other unhappy or even half happy. We only get one life to live. So yeah, that's my attitude towards it.
Wow, thank you. Wow, I love that. I do love that, and I love that you're saying that you guys tried, and yeah, you were honest about the immigration process, and possibly that could have tugged at you guys. But I love that you're being transparent, and I love that this and this is, I think we talked about this too. It's like, in a sense, we talk about the things that have gone wrong and that gone wrong or going right or whatever we feel, and that is the ways our therapy. We're talking about it. We don't just bury it. We don't just go, okay. I think a part of it being an adult, like you said, not being a player in your 40s or 30s or whenever, is looking at each situation and going, okay, what could I have done better?
Exactly, right? And I think when you talk about self-actualization, a big part of it is your personal growth, your self-awareness, and all of that comes to play to how happy you are in a relationship. You cannot feel, shitty about yourself as a person and be completely happy in a relationship, right? At the end of the day, it's your job to be happy on your own, and then the relationship is much more sustainable, as opposed to putting all of your eggs in the same basket and not self-actualizing.
Wow, beautifully said. And then you talked about pros and cons dating in 30s, and So or 30s are 40s or our technology 30s.
Yeah.
40 being a new 30. So what do you feel is a pro of dating in your 30s post a marriage or post a long-term relationship? 30s or 40s. What do you feel is a pro?
I would say the biggest pro, at least based on my experience, is um, a really deep knowledge of yourself and what you're after and who you are as a person, and not settling for anything less than being happy. It's always a process, but yeah, self knowledge, I think, and self awareness and emotional maturity are definitely the perks of dating in the middle age.
So if we talk about a pro, we got to turn right around. There's the other part. So what is a con of dating? Post.
So I would say that con is actually exactly the same as the pro, because the self-knowledge, self-awareness piece, emotional maturity is a blessing and a curse, right? When you know each other, or when you know yourself really well and really authentically, you're less willing to compromise on some of the core values, core beliefs, some of the qualities that you would expect your partner to have. So I think you're much more selective, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Picky is the word, right?
Yes. I guess you could call it picky, but also there's a beauty in it as well, right? If you're very firm on what you're looking for in a partner, why wouldn't you look for it? It's just that, one caution that I would make is just look sometimes past those superficial requirements like age, height, occupation, etc., and see the person behind all of that, right?
Wow, thank you. Very well spoken, very well said. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think too often we get caught up on our types or what it is that we like and our aesthetic, and I don't know, like for that may have some bearing on something, but yeah, for the most part, if what we need is part of the five Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then we may be abandoning all of that just for one particular, not even a need, really, more like a want, right? Or more like a preference.
Yeah, and we may go through phases as well, right?
Right.
Um, if love and belonging, which is the third stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is something that you need now to nurture yourself, etc., go for it. And if you're looking for somebody for more of a self-actualization and you're looking for a partner who is equal and successful and driven, that's okay too. You may just be looking for those different things at different phases.
Nice. And so we spoke earlier about dating apps, and there was a there was a psychologist. Her name was Samantha Joel.
Okay.
She did a study at the University of Waterloo in Canada. Shout out to Kitchener. And basically, she was speaking about dating apps, and what she said was that it can take longer. The time they can predict at the time it will take for someone to to swipe on their type. Like we just said, whatever that aesthetic is. It showed that people tend to take longer to swipe for someone close to their threshold of dating or acceptability. It suggests, like you just said, kind of that we're all dating wrong. I kind of would ask your opinion on that, but I think you kind of just gave it, right? But that was something that I wanted to bring up. That was a very good study. So I just wanted to say, is there anything else that you would like to expound with on that? But
no, I think it's just sometimes we're looking for our partners to complement us, but sometimes at certain points of life we may be looking for our partners to contrast us, and we may be looking for a completely different set of attributes or characteristics in our partners.
And so I guess I got to ask this as a follow-up, but this also may have been answered in what you just said. Is according to Samantha Joel, there was a statement given is that, and I want to know if you agree with this, yes or no. In the dating market, people can compete ferociously for mates with qualities that do not increase one's chances of romantic happiness.
No,
You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Okay, please expound.
Well, it's just that each person or potential partner is a unique combination of all kinds of different values, and it's just it just has to be right for you specifically. And by the way, I don't buy into a concept of one soulmate or the one.
Ooh.
I think
Uh-oh.
it's a very faulty statement and belief. I think there is definitely more than one person out there for you. It just depends on, again, what your needs are at the moment and how you go about it and what you're willing to compromise on, which versus something that is the core and you're looking for that.
Wow, wait a minute. So now we're in 2022, and we have shows called Sister Wives. We have different things out there. I don't want to put anybody out there, but we have different things that are out there. When you say I don't believe in one person having one soulmate,
The one,
that is the segue to the only other question I could ask, which is polygamy. We talk, that is something that is very prevalent nowadays. Like the show Sister Wives, or in Atlanta, in Georgia, I feel like it's very popular for some reason. I don't know why, but that's something that people are saying, like openly non-monogamous. What's that word they put? People have there's so many different terminologies for it. Classifications is hard to keep up. But what are your thoughts, since you said that no one has one soulmate? What would be your thoughts on polygamy as it stands, and how it's kind of sort of become a part of our dating standard?
I think it very much has to do with evolution of us as humans. The whole notion of death does us apart came from back in the days when people's lifespan was like 35 years, and so they married early, they died early, and they married for economic and safety reasons, which is a lot different right now in this modern world where we expect our partners to be our safe harbor. We expect them to be, an inspiration, great lovers, a friend, a soulmate, all of it. And sometimes it's just not possible to get that from the exact same person. So I think that's where, and the sense of entitlement of why can't I have it all? I should be entitled to have it all. So I think evolutionary, it's very much granted for where we are at as a society. Personally, it's not my thing, but I'm very open-minded to other people who make it their choice as long as they're transparent about it.
Wait a minute, hold on, Anna. Did you just draw a straight line between polygamy and entitlement?
A little bit, yeah.
Woo! Wow. That's almost hitting on another show. But I mean, go ahead, please. But
I think there's also to the opposite spectrum of it, right? People can be entitled in monogamous relationship as well. Again, expecting that one person fulfilling their every need, and often the needs that they should be fulfilling themselves. Because again, if you're not happy as a person, nobody's gonna make you happy.
Wow, I love that.
So that's entitlement too, right?
Yes.
I want you to make me happy. Well, why don't you just go ahead and do it yourself, right? Your partner should be a nice to have, a complement to your happiness, and not like replacement for your own peace of mind and happiness and accomplishment.
Wow. I love how you wove that together. But if I can speak on myself, speak on the subject matter myself.
Right.
Yeah, I do see a certain sense of entitlement. And it's hard to say on which end it lands, but it feels to me as on the man's end, and I'm not just trying to speak down on my brothers, my fellow men. I do feel like, a man who's saying that I was entitled to such and such a wife, like that's a sense of selfishness, and I do feel like marriage is the evolution of us giving of ourselves. We don't have to be married to give of ourselves, but that's a part of it. That's what creates that bond. And yeah, I do understand what you mean when you said people's lifespans was shorter. And so to death do you part meant something different. Maybe prior, if people were only living to about 33, 35, it may have meant something different. But I think where we at with technology and where we're, where people are living longer, there are health treatments, so many different, almost cures for different things. I mean, look at Magic Johnson, right? Look no further. Then it becomes a sense of entitlement. As we live longer, we start to see ourselves in different lights. So I kind of like can see your point, and I do agree with that because I feel like the evolution of us growing older is us giving more of ourselves. Um, that doesn't mean that we don't get. That doesn't mean that we don't have certain things that we can expect because of who we are, because of what we represent, because of how good of a mother we are, because of how good of a father we are, because of how good of a whomever that we represent to someone. And have proven to do that over a period of time. But it just means that um, I shouldn't look at. So I mean, I guess in some way, with the entitlement factor of it is a man is like, well, I'm doing this, because men are kind of sort of built that way. We're like, well, I did work, so where's my food? You know what I mean? Where's my dinner? Like, men kind of have that entitlement. And so if you have 2 or 3
I wouldn't
wives.
be asking you out, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I like that you drew the straight line. And I didn't know you would do that. I didn't know you would do that. But yeah, it can come from there. I don't know if someone has a valid argument about polygamy and they want to, send me, message me. But I just feel like, that is where the root of it comes from. I don't know. It can be in some ways beneficial, but I've just yet to find that.
Right, and it's also having longer lifespans. We now have more phases that we go through, and it's not necessarily that you and your partner are moving through those phases at the exact same pace, right? So you may be wanting different things, you may be developing differently, etc. And also, what I'm looking for in a partner, what I was looking in a partner when I was 20 is very different to what I'm looking for in a partner now that I'm 40.
Well, it just got juicy at the end there because we got into the polygamy factor. I feel like we should have hit that first. But do you have any other thoughts regarding the psychology of dating after you're 30 or, after a long marriage or, I don't want to put a particular age on it, but,
right.
After that time has passed and you look at yourself differently, do you have any other final thoughts regarding that subject?
It's just dating in late 30s, in your early 40s is so awesome because, again, you don't need anybody, right? You are enough. Your partner just comes along for the fun, to complement, to enhance your life, and not to do anything for you. You're independent, or most people are independent. Everybody has their own day-to-day struggles, of course, but it's, again, the marriage or partnership nowadays are not must-have. It's nice to have, right? If there's alignment, if you're having fun, it's the quality of life enhancement as opposed to the basics and safety and economic arrangement and things like that.
Wow, thank you, Anna. I really appreciate that. Your very poignant commentary, and and the little controversy with the polygamy and the entitlement. No, but no, it sparks great for conversation. We thank you guys for tuning in for another week, for another podcast. We appreciate our guest Anna Yoon here, and just sharing her great thoughts, sharing her time with us. We want to remind you to tune in each week. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor.fm. Follow us at The Great Northern Way, POD, on Instagram. And then also on Facebook, you can go to Kevo, Kevo, CABELL as well. And if you feel so inclined, donate to the show. You can go to paypal.me, and that's /KEVO, CABELL. But also, guys, be on the lookout for the Great Northern Way shop, selling this great merchandise that we have here. But yeah, that's also on the way. And we just thank you guys so much for listening and remind you again to stay listening and be kind. I'm Kevo, signing off for Anna Yoon.